Right now, Putin's convoy has veered off course. The secret operation has failed. The US is furious. Trump has issued a warning. Washington is preparing a powerful strike. Mega weaponry is ready to launch. Putin is on the brink of collapse. The front is ablaze. The Russian army is trapped in a snare. See all the details ahead.
A scorching morning in Russia. On the night of November 4th, drones attacked a petrochemical plant in the Republic of Bashkortostan. Propaganda media report several sources of fire. Footage of the fire at the industrial zone of the Russian Lukoil refinery Nizhny Novgorod Nefteyorg Syntes and at the petrochemical plant has appeared online.
Sibur Neftekim is a company that operates in the petrochemical industry. It is part of the Sibur Group and is involved in the production and processing of chemical products derived from oil and gas. Therefore, this is a legitimate military target on the territory of the occupying country for a strike by Ukrainian drones.
Putin is a liar and a murderer, and the future of democracy and the entire world is at risk if the United States does anything less than achieve victory over the Kremlin dictator. This was stated by Republican Senator Tom Tillis.
If you think that Ukraine is just a country across the ocean and has nothing to do with our national security, think again. The world is a small place. The whole world is watching. The strength of our alliances is at stake.
It seems the threat is really getting closer and closer to the United States, if only because Putin is preparing to go to war with them. For now, through Venezuela. The first deputy chairman of the State Duma Defense Committee, Alexei Zhuravlev, said in an interview with the newspaper Gazeta.ru that Russia is supplying weapons to Venezuela and did not rule out the possibility of transferring the Oreshnik system to Caracas.
The Russian Federation, yes, is trying to weaken the influence of the United States in this region through Venezuela. Let me remind you, Venezuela is one of the largest players in the oil market. That is why there is such attention from the Russian Federation, and it is not accidental.
The U.S. will conduct tests of an intercontinental ballistic missile following Donald Trump's order to begin nuclear testing.
Conducting nuclear tests is first and foremost both a political and military signal from the United States to the Russian Federation. Let me remind you, the United States possesses the largest nuclear arsenal. It is the leading nuclear power. And it should be noted that it is no coincidence that, alongside President Trump's statements about resuming nuclear tests, he also gave the order for redeployment of nuclear submarines directly to the shores of the Russian Federation. Let me remind you, the US Navy has 71 nuclear submarines, while the occupying country has 13.
While the world talks about war, Ukraine is fighting for its independence. In these shots, Ukrainian soldiers are driving the enemy out of Pokrovsk.
By decision of the Commander-in-Chief, Ukraine's defense forces under Syrskyi have been redeployed to the Pokrovsk direction. And these shots of the landing and combat operations
carried out by GUR fighters in the same Pokrovsk. It is reported that the operation by Ukrainian intelligence officers in a certain area is ongoing.
Putin has challenged the world. A nuclear cruiser equipped with Poseidon has been launched. A new doomsday weapon. How did Washington and Brussels react to this move? Putin's wonder weapon. What lightning-fast response are Western armies preparing for the much-vaunted missile? All the details of the global threat, watch right now.
The arms race has indeed begun. Nuclear blackmail continues. Following the test of the Burevestnik missile in Severodvinsk, a ceremonial launching of the nuclear submarine Khabarovsk was held at the Sevmash plant.
The nuclear submarine cruiser Khabarovsk is ready to leave the dock. Begin movement.
According to Russian media, the submarine Khabarovsk can carry up to 12 Poseidon unmanned nuclear torpedoes on board. Moscow claims that the Poseidon is capable of operating at depths of up to 1,000 meters and can reach speeds of over 100 knots, making it difficult to detect and intercept. With their new torpedoes, the Kremlin's inhabitants are trying to intimidate NATO countries.
The development of the Burevestnik made it possible to conduct tests of the Poseidon. There is simply no equal to this weapon. The President personally oversaw the implementation of this project from start to finish. The president personally oversaw the implementation of this project from start to finish. We are seeing the results of the country's increased defense capability. And today, those abroad who wish us harm should be preparing to bow before our Supreme Commander-in-Chief, just so that this weapon isn't used.
But in reality, this is just fantasy and empty bravado about yet another so-called unparalleled weapon. In reality, the naval and especially the submarine fleets of the Russian Navy lag decades behind their direct competitor, the United States.
No one even comes close. No one can compare with us. Russia and China are 25 years behind the US in terms of both the quantity and quality of submarines. In December, a new Virginia-class submarine will be laid down.
While the Kremlin is launching the Khabarovsk, the White House is announcing the largest modernization of the Navy in modern history. But even without this modernization, the US already has the most powerful naval and submarine fleet in the world right now.
The main component of the Russian Federation's Navy is its submarine fleet. But unlike the United States, the Russian Federation currently possesses approximately 17 nuclear submarines in its fleet, which are actively maintained and operated as part of its naval forces. Whereas, I want to emphasize again, the United States has about 70 of them. In addition to the 17 nuclear submarines currently in service, the Russian Navy also has in total 33 diesel-electric submarines that are actively serving.
One of these Russian diesel-electric submarines, the Novorossiysk, broke down in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Europe a few weeks ago, becoming the subject of jokes by the NATO Secretary General.
Now, essentially, there is almost no Russian military presence left in the Mediterranean Sea. There is only one broken Russian submarine, which, limping along like a lame duck, is making its way home from patrol.
For the North Atlantic Alliance, led by the United States, the Navy is a key tool for deterring and influencing potential adversaries anywhere in the world.
The Moscow fleet is the pride of the United States and the main component both for conducting military operations outside the United States and as an element of the US military political presence in virtually all regions of the globe. Let me remind you, the United States has the largest navy in the world, and their main pride is their carrier strike groups. Carrier strike groups consisting of 11 aircraft carriers.
Ukraine has also made a significant contribution to reducing Russia's naval potential. According to the Ukrainian Navy, since the start of the full-scale war, the armed forces of Ukraine, primarily using long-range missiles and unmanned naval drones, have destroyed 28 Russian ships, including the submarine Rostov-on-Don. Once the pride of Erefia, the Black Sea Fleet has been left without the Black Sea.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now. Shocking. The US is secretly helping Putin. The Kremlin is celebrating, and Shaheds have become invulnerable. It's impossible to shoot down American technology in the hands of the occupiers. How did this happen, and what is important to know? All the shocking details coming up next.
In addition to the war on the front lines, there is also a technological war going on.
Our enemy is, let's say, technologically very dangerous, extremely cunning, and highly unpredictable because he has the ability to change absolutely everything in an instant without any warning at all.
Communication systems, control systems, electronic warfare play a significant role. The key issue is complexity in order to be able to counter the enemy.
The speeds are no longer the same. The enemy uses various means to make their drones less vulnerable to our electronic warfare.
In 2024, jet-powered Shaheds equipped with electronic warfare countermeasures were spotted over Ukraine.
In fact, they are trying to turn the large, unwieldy Shahed into an FPV analog, which is controlled via radio channel directly from the territory of the Russian Federation or from occupied territory. That is, this Shahed is equipped with an onboard video camera that can transmit footage directly. And again, let me repeat, we're not talking about... This is the subject or object being referred to in the current context, and it represents the particular thing, idea, or situation that is being discussed or pointed out at this moment.
Is not the first Shahed upgrade the Russians have made in their attempts to bypass Ukrainian air defenses. All the GNSS receivers and antenna devices allow the drones to maintain navigation even under intense electronic jamming. These antennas are now produced in Russia, but the design was originally developed in Ukraine back in the early 2000s. Now, on enemy territory in 2025, the modernization of these birds of death continues.
This
is the very principle of electronic warfare. Absolutely everything. All the components that a radio receiver has can be jammed. Some are more difficult, some are easier. It depends on the type of signal. Here, jamming is not exactly easy because they use frequency hopping technology across the entire range, so it's resistant to electronic warfare jamming, but it is still quite possible. So for this, we just need to take a new approach, so to speak, and adapt ourselves to the Russians' new tactics.
The Russians have gone even further. They hid these antennas inside the body, removed them from the wing, and moved them inside the Shahed, right in the center. As a result, the enemy's drones are becoming virtually invulnerable to electronic warfare measures. Oh,
What does this tell an observant and intelligent person? It means that the factory made changes to the Shahed's body specifically for these Chinese antennas. This means the enemy is confident in a long-term and stable partnership with China. We cannot suppress such antennas with our existing electronic warfare systems everywhere across the country.
Sergei Beskresnov confirmed in Flash that this nuance indicates close cooperation between Russia and China. Russian billionaires are doing everything they can to help Putin in this war by establishing contacts. With China and the US, for example, Deripaska.
Access to technology and equipment is also closed off. And there is a range of items that are critical.
In 2024, the Russian LLC Angar 22 purchased Swivin turbojet engines for a total amount of about $300,000. Officially, they are intended for model aviation. However, these units later found a completely different use. They were installed on a jet-powered modification of the Iranian Shahed drone. At the same time, the owners of Angar 22 are classified, and information about the beneficiaries is hidden. According to old registry data, the founder was the joint stock company Kraska, which was linked to Deripaska. Other subsidiary structures, according to documents, are only partially state-owned. But there is also the Yuginvest Development Corporation. It is associated with a structure belonging to the same Deripaska.
You know about what's happening under China, free economic zones, minimal taxes, joint ventures.
Supplies to the company linked to Putin's wallet were delivered directly from the Chinese manufacturer Swivin, which also has an American branch, Swivin USA. Angar 22 is already under American sanctions. In fact, the story of Angar is an illustration of how the Russian military-industrial complex, cut off from Western technologies, looks for workarounds, indirectly cooperating with the United States through China under the guise of scientific research.
Russia's share is the fourth largest in China's trade turnover. This matters to everyone.
Russians regularly update their drones to carry out attacks on Ukraine. In the Russian Federation, they have started making them even more deadly for strikes. During attacks on the Sumy region, Russian occupiers began using Shahed drones equipped with anti-tank mines. And
they continue to further scale up production. And as we should understand, having resources, having finances, having all the capabilities, in other words, they will not stop.
Monitoring groups report that the Russian Federation is preparing Shahed drones with phosphorus munitions. Being within 150 meters of the impact zone can result in fatal outcomes. The Kremlin is betting specifically on cheap kamikaze drones rather than missiles. That is why they plan to increase the production of Shaheds and other types of UAVs. A plan has been set to produce at least 36,000 strike drones. The Ukrainian side is not resting on its laurels and continues to work on improving its own interceptor drones. And not only that,
That's all for now. For more fiery news from the front, tune into the next episode.